Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives. No, this is Philosophical Coffee. One day I'm going to get that right. If you are new to my channel, I am a philosopher, psychologist, sociologist of 30 years. And I am self-taught. I have dealt with a significant amount of abuse my whole life based off of my self-teaching, because it immediately brings into question the quality of my education. My work stands on its own feet. It is probably the biggest abuse I have suffered from, and considering the amount of abuse I've suffered, it's substantial. The question of my own quality of being self-taught. And I am the kind of person, when I am confronted with something, I wake up every morning, find the biggest problem in my life, and I run right into it head first. That's how I handle situations. That's how I handle everything. I literally identify the biggest problem, and then I run into it to resolve it, because it is the thing that's causing me the greatest discomfort. Now, my IQ was measured at 180 when I was 15 years old. I'm kind of smart. And my evidence for my education, the quality of my life, the quality of my work, comes down to one basic thing. I should be dead. I also should be on about 10 different medications right now and a rambling idiot in a mental house. But I'm not. Instead, I'm here running research labs based off of physics, math, science, logic, and geometry. And I'm tying in 4 interdisciplinary studies, physics, logic, philosophy, and economics, into this conglomerate of a new psychology that is the exact same thing that I used on myself to resolve my incurable mental illnesses, which is why I'm not in a mental hospital on 10 different meds and or dead, as most psychologists insist I should be. Why? Because I'm self-taught. That's why. Because I found out how insignificantly sloppy and low, poor quality our educational system is. That it prioritizes a degree with abysmal quality over quality education. It really comes down to quality education. And I have people who take one look at my work and the math stands on its own feet. The logic and the physics stands on its own feet. And the truly educated person can look at my work and go, done, clearly, the math is there. But more specifically are the people who go, wait, you should be dead. How? Those are the people with curiosity and imaginations. Those are the people who know my background and they look at my work, because according to all of the statistics and all of the beliefs and all of the crap that's out there, I should not exist. But I do, which proves that there is a flaw in their reasoning, which leads them to ask how and why. It doesn't take much to get into my work to realize the how and the why. We're talking about the quality of education. And suddenly there is this massive question of how credible is formal education. It's not. And I have substantial proof. I'm not the only one who has substantial proof. It's very easy to see how incompetent our educational system is. In fact, if you take a look at the article I just published this morning, I'll go ahead and drop the link below. It is called Psychology is an Interdisciplinary... No, wait, it is. Let me just give it a minute here. Psychology is an interdisciplinary study that results from combining philosophy, physics, and economics. And yet, those are subjects that are not even taught in psychology. Therefore, Psychologists aren't even taught psychology in formal education because the quality of education is so terrible. Had they actually studied, had the formal educators of psychology actually studied philosophy, physics, and economics, they would know that what they're teaching in schools is garbage. It's nothing. It's literally nothing. And this article is, I'm putting it here in below, that basically breaks down how, why, and the formal argument explaining the piss poor quality and lack of proper knowledge that's actually in today's educational system, formal or otherwise. So, whether or not someone is self taught or formally educated is moot. It really truly is. The question really is quality. So, here's the question now. Well, without a degree, how do we know if you're good? Proof, results, proof. And a degree only proves that you completed the requirements that was dictated by X. But that doesn't mean anything. It just means that congratulations, you completed requirements. It does not translate the quality of those requirements. It does not translate the value or the worth of those components. It just tells you that you checked everything off on a list. That's all it tells you. People think that this completed checklist to equal the degree equals proper education, and it doesn't. It does not. If you actually value education, whole different conversation. And the entire system is built on the fourth perspective loathing of education, who aren't educated enough to understand the value of education or even how to educate properly. Education has been at the core of all of this since before the beginning. So it's been something I really strongly struggle with. It's a real personal battle for me that I know it's going to be brought up time and time again in my future. And trying to figure out a way to make peace with this is not going to be something I have studied with people taking away my credibility my whole life. They started with the word insanity. And really what it comes down to is ignorant people making ignorant assumptions based off of something they know nothing about. Education. I'm going to write that down. And I'm not the only one. There is an absolute self-loathing hatred out for educated people. Not educated, intelligent. And it's very much there's something there, and I think I just need to bury into it and get into it today. And there are ignorant people who make ignorant conclusions on topics they know nothing about. Education. Knowledge and learning. I have to get into this. I feel it. And it's painful for me because it's absolutely riddled with trauma for me. So, unlike all the other topics that I venture into, this one is still riddled with pain. I know where pain comes from, cognitive dissonance. Because I have outsiders invalidating my credibility. They are attacking me. They are attacking my logical core. My logical core, my logical comprehension, and my AIDNS is currently under attack. By ignorant people who know nothing about knowledge. Yet, I do I value them? Clearly, I do. Their acceptance, their approval, power of credibility. Where does it come from? Wow, that's what we're talking about today. Where does credibility come from? Wow, that's a topic, isn't it? This is a really painful one for a lot of us. Anyone who's ever been called insane knows this battle. When our own credibility has been compromised. And it's so painful that I just avoid it and I don't touch it. And I have this very, very small, minor hiccup over here that's happening. And it's so minuscule and it's causing me a lot of pain. And I'm going, yeah, I haven't sorted this out. It's just currently a reminder of the very recently credibility war. And I'm trying to figure out how best to proceed while the pain is going on. The unspoken credibility war. I like the unspoken war of credibility. It's like we gain our credibility from other people, isn't it? That's exactly what it is. That's why we have vetting, third party references, referrals, another way of saying it. And it's because we do have this the question I pose is, can we gain credibility from the self, or do we require credibility from an outside source? That's the question. That is today's hypothesis. Now, we are very much dependent upon the credibility or the vouching of other people. We see this when we are in a network and somebody comes along and says, "Hey, I'm vouching for this person." It's this belief that if you don't have a degree and if you're not under the tutelage of a mentor, oh, you can't possibly read the laws of physics on your own. Oh, no, no, you are not competent enough to read a book without a mentor holding your hand and making sure you are reading the book the right way. That the laws of physics, oh no, that's only privy to privileged people. Education is power. Why am I imagining a fruit on a tree right now going, don't you dare touch this fruit. I have not given it to you. You are not allowed to have this fruit. You can have any other fruit in the fucking garden, but not this one. It is like the oldest story that knowledge is a privileged gift of the gods, that unless you have been deemed by a higher power, you are not allowed to touch said fruit. Knowledge. The concept that just anybody can come along and read the laws of physics and calculate basic common sense. Oh no, you need a mentor for that. You are not qualified to use your brain. How dare they? That's what they're actually saying to us. We're not qualified to even know how to use our own brain. The mind. A user's manual. What if a human person could use their own brain and mind without the mentorship or tutelage? Come on, Anna, narcissism. Put the pieces together. You got this. Power. Stolen power. They say, they accuse others for their own crimes. You are not allowed to use your own mind without proper authority. That is what formal education is. And without a mentor, you are not capable of using your own brain. It's an old abuser's trick. And I happen to know the psychology behind it. All right, I'm going to figure this out, people. Because it's there. This is personal. This is very, very a personal vendetta. You are not qualified to use your own brain. That's what they want you to believe. That's what they teach each and every one of us. That's why we have to go to school, because we're not qualified to use our own brains. You know, I was talking to my daughter last night about history, and we're watching art history, and she had a moment of epiphany where she went, wait, this is art history. Yeah. Isn't it all just history? Yes, it is. There is art, music, politics, ethics, math, invention, creation, food, war, the Roman era, the Dark Ages, the Renaissance. The Classical era, the Industrial Age, the 20th century, today. It's a grid. Let's go back before the Roman Empire. Mesopotamia, Babylonian, early man, and Neolithic. It's a grid. And she went, so they're breaking it down so we learn subject to subject to subject. Yeah, that's right. Why don't they just teach us from era to era to era? Well, that's how I learned. I learned from era to era to era. So when I was 12, I studied nothing but the Roman Empire. And I studied all of those subjects at the same time, just from the Roman Empire. All of them. And then I studied just the Dark Ages. And then I studied just the Age of Enlightenment. And Lutheranism and the Spanish Inquisition, everything that spanned that time period, that era. I was 15 when I got to that point. And then I was 17 when I was doing the Industrial Age, 1776, and the American Revolution, the Battle of Culloden. By the way, did you know that the Battle of Culloden was the fuel in Scotland that then launched the independence, the American Revolution? And while that was going on, the French were having their revolution. There were like 3 revolutions from 4 different countries all at the same time that no one knows about because no one studied in that one era. Instead, we were taught this way on the grid, which is garbage. You got to study this way on the grid. And when my daughter made this connection, she just had this, oh, I see the big picture. Yeah, it's omniscient point of view. That's what it is. And I got as far as, well, I got to 1776, and then I hate American history so much. So I just stayed over in Rome or in the European area. And then, yeah, I just stayed over in Europe. And it's this, to study the United States history from 1776 and on is like going back and studying early man anthropology and farmer hunter-gatherer societies. It's the same thing. It's like it's repetition. I'm like, okay, so it's a new society. Been there, done that. It's just an early new society, and boy, does it reek of that time period, which I already studied. So I wasn't getting anything new out of the U.S. government. I wasn't getting anything new. It was repetition. It was repeated material. And as a result, I learned differently. And I wrote, this is in the article that I wrote today. I absolutely love this line. And it really summarizes all of it. I'm looking for, it's about philosophy and what philosophy is, how it mastered its profession so well. Here it is. Philosophy was not a single subject. Philosophy was not a single subject of study parallel to reading, writing, and arithmetic. It was reading, writing, and arithmetic. And art, teaching, logic, dance, music, physics, geometry, theater, stage, poetry, astronomy, theology, medicine, biology, chemistry, dimension theory, metaphysics, and economics. That is philosophy. Philosophy was the study and integration of all knowledge. And because they were good at it, They knew how to structure learning into a curriculum that uploaded all of that data into the human mind in only 12 to 20 years. The human mind is a learning and teaching machine. All the mind does is take in, process, expand. Rinse and repeat. Take in, process, expand. Done right, and you can crank out masses of super geniuses who make idiot savants and Mensa members look naive. And Alexandria had this mastered. Today, we are so daft in our education that most people think it isn't possible to learn more than one subject, which, according to common practices today, takes 8 years to master. Yeah, our education today is abysmal. So we're talking about the quality of education. Now, education is power. We know this. Education is the first power. Oh, we're going to do this. Education is power. This is not about education. This is not about credibility. This is about power. And the measurement of this power. How do you measure up? Yeah, the people who are low in this power are the ones who attack those who have it because they are so ignorant in education and power that they are terrified of people who have more education and knowledge than themselves. Money, education. So they attach credibility onto education and monopolize it to ensure it's like Jurassic Park with unauthorized breeding, unauthorized education. So they attach credibility onto education and monopolize it to ensure they and only approved authorities, universities, have the power. Now, this is a fun fact about universities that when you are under a university, they own you. So if you create something while you are in a doctorate program, if you invent something while you are going through dissertation, the university, which is owned and funded by the government, is the one who actually owns it. So you literally lose all intellectual property if you study under a university. And that, oh, there it is. There it is. Come on. Think like Kraft. It's like Kraft Foods. They need a smear campaign to break down your credibility so they can go on to sell more education to people. And self-taught is a direct threat to their sales department. If people realize that they have the authority to use their own brains And why do you need a university to begin with? If people realize that they have the authority to use their own brains, then why do you need a university to begin with? What's in it for me? Well, let's count the ways. Let's inventory what's in it for me with universities and formal educators. Jobs, money, profit, power, control, sales. Yeah, I'm starting to see how fucking dirty this is. But there's a problem. People do have the ability to use their own brain without approved authority. Education is not about knowledge. It is about power. It's close. I'm about to make the conclusion. I can see I'm missing a couple premise, and I'm still looking for those premise. There is a problem. People do have the ability to use their own brain without approved authority. And done right, they can beat the educators, the self-proclaimed educators at their own game. The jig is up, the news is out, they finally found you. Renegade. But there's a problem. People do have the ability to use their own brain without approved authority. And done right, they can beat the self-proclaimed educators at their own game. So now the educators have a problem. How do you, this is Kraft's problem, convince an entire consumer-based society that they need to buy your product? Make them believe they need you. How? Make them believe that they lack the ability to use their own brains. Wow, this is a dirty fucking campaign. This is exactly like Kraft. So Kraft, in the 1940s, a company called Kraft came out to feed the soldiers in World War II. We needed a way to get food from America to Germany, all over the world, actually, to feed our troops. How? So there was a food company that was made called Kraft. And Kraft's entire goal was to sell food to the government, who was their number one and only customer. They made bank. Kraft is responsible for things like margarine and Crisco and TV dinners, which were originally called those things in the military with food prep. I can't remember what they're called. When the war ended in 1945, Kraft was going to go out of business. Well, shit, we have a really profitable business and we just lost our only customer, the government. Now what do we do? So they targeted the US people. But the US people were really fucking good at cooking and being self-sufficient. So it wouldn't work. So Kraft began a smear campaign targeting food. So they slandered butter and sold you on the idea of margarine. They slandered butter and sold you on the idea of Crisco. They slandered homemade food and sold you on the idea of microwavable TV dinners. Microwavable TV dinners came later. And they slandered the American people, claiming and playing off of time, claiming and playing off of all this other bullshit. They slandered flour. They slandered so much marketing propaganda. So from 1950 to about 2000, all we did was eat Kraft-based foods. And we got sicker. We got more obese. We got sicker. And then we smartened up a little bit. And America decided to go back to basics and return to home natural foods. Sales tanked. So Kraft targeted India. And they took that same marketing campaign and cycled it over to India. Sure enough, India saw an increase in obesity. India saw an increase in illness and people getting sick. I watched this whole history on the marketing smear campaign of Kraft. Well, the educators did it too. Educators very much compete for the business of, this is what happens when you have non-profit or when you have profit-based organizations. There are certain things that have no fucking business being profit. Education is one of them. Mental health is one of them. Government is one of them. As soon as you put profit-based business consumerism into this, what you get is a business and not anything that's ethical. Same thing with medical. I remember when I applied for a job at a hospital, I was wanting to go into, well, medical care. And during the interview, I got the slapdown of, this is a business. We're not here to help people. She literally said this to me. This is a business. We're not here to help people. A hospital said this to me. Yeah. Education is not about knowledge. It is about power and profit. So they launched a smear campaign targeting the belief that a human person could even use their own brains. They invented a checklist and made it mandatory to complete a checklist. Elizabeth, stop it, please. They invented a checklist and made it mandatory to complete a checklist. Medical is accurate. Science is accurate. Science is solid. Medical and science are solid. Because you can't bullshit those people. You can't bullshit them. Business is garbage. Psychology and mental health is fucking garbage. They don't even teach psychology in psychology. Psychology is garbage. Business is garbage. Good God, is it fucking garbage? Marketing is how to manipulate people 101. Yeah, marketing, let me tell you something. Marketing will teach you more about psychology than psychology teaches you about psychology. True story. Now that's fucking funny. True story. When I studied marketing, I learned more about psychology than anything I studied in psychology. That's fucking hilarious. Business and economics taught you more about psychology than psychology. But marketing only teaches you how to manipulate people, how to use psychological fear systems to turn them against your own people so that people will buy consumerism. And because everyone is so fucking stupid and uneducated, no one's figured it out. It's ridiculous. I'm so close. There's one sentence, and if I can just find that sentence, it'll just plug it in and the whole goddamn thing falls apart. And I'm so close to this one sentence. It's the fountainhead. The fountainhead of this entire matrix is, all right, metaphysical. Let's get into metaphysics and shift my perspective, because if I can shift my perspective around this different angle, I can see it. The fountainhead of this entire matrix lies in the belief that you require authority to use your permission to use your own brain properly. That you can't possibly use your own brain without the approved and licensed authorities mentoring you on your own brain. Question the educators. Learn how to use your own brain, and their entire system will fall. Ironically, I found out a while ago that education and mental health are so tightly linked that when I built my mental health system and my new psychology based off of philosophy and physics and the AIDNS, I realized, wow, this is like 98% education. So I also put together the same educational curriculum that I was raised on, that I put myself through, compliments of Plato and Pythagoras, that gave me the ability to absorb like 9 doctorate degree equivalents in education, which is highly doable, very easy, very fun. And I'm putting it together right now and making it accessible for free to everybody. That is what hmsalexandria.university is in the process of becoming. Because I realized that if you want quality education, what you need is to learn how to use your own brain. But if you want to stay an unthinking drone, obedient to obediently enslaved to their marketing manipulation, well then, Make no changes, you're right where you need to be. Change nothing, you're fine. Marketing and education have been used as a weapon against us, starting with the first and oldest story. Do not eat of this fruit, 'cause then I will be powerless to control you. The emperor is naked. Wow, there it is. Drop mic. Do not eat of the fruit, because then I will be powerless to control you. So yeah, they will target my self-teaching, my quality education, because I didn't go through their program because I'm not obedient. The best part is the people who attack my intelligence and my credibility are the red flags going, look at me, I'm on their side and I want to control you. Oh, now I got your number. Now I've got this beautiful, bright red flag all over those people. Oh, I understand. You don't want me to use my own brain. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to use my own brain. Thank you very much. And I'm going to teach others for free how to do it. Yeah. Yeah. I have a vendetta. I had no idea that the marketing had gotten into education. Like I said, of all the things that I was abused on, education and my ability to self-teach was the first, the biggest. God forbid a girl gets smart. Because as soon as a girl gets smart, oh, she's not going to sit under the boot of man so obediently now, is she? And that's really what this is about for them. That either you are supposed to obediently stay ignorant so they can control you, or because education is power. Education is the most powerful. So we have literally an entire culture designed to keep you stupid so they can control you. Suddenly, every person who questions my credibility I'm sorry, I didn't know that physics was, something that I couldn't even read about. The majority of people I speak to who share my abuse, so many of them, let me tell you what I do on a regular day. And I have people who say to me, you're doing too much. Listen, I have ADHD, or I would if. When you have energy, it builds up. And this is potential energy. It stores up. And if you don't release it and it flips over, if you don't convert it and use it for kinetic energy, it builds up and it stays stored. You can only store so much potential energy before you can't hold it anymore. And then you shake. And then you wander around. And then you can't focus because you are not effectively converting your potential energy over into kinetic energy. Bottom line. This is classic physics. You don't have to be a physicist to know this shit. This is like shit they teach you in the second grade. Hormones are chemicals. Hormones are chemicals. We know this. Hormones are going off every day in your brain, just firing off. Well, what do you think that's doing? That's chemical energy being converted over into emotional energy, which is what emotions are. Chemical energy is emotional energy transferred. So I'm enjoying my day, la 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 la, and somebody sends me information where I'm being attacked. My logical credibility is under attack. I am being told that I am not qualified to use my brain. That's an attack. That is an attack on my AIDNS. Now that, because of the third law of physics, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, it's going to produce a hormone, a chemical in my brain that now builds up potential energy and then transfers over into emotional energy. So now I'm angry because somebody's attacking my AIDNS. They are telling me that I'm not qualified to use my own brain. Because that's really what this is you have to be qualified to use your own brain. God fucking forbid. So now, yes, I am angry because somebody's attacked me. So now I'm taking all of that anger, potential energy, and I'm converting it over into kinetic energy to analyze, problem solve, and figure out what is at the core of this. Identified, figured it out. Good, I'm great. And now I'm looking at it going, okay, this is the beautiful exchange that's occurring and happening. It's really fucking cool. It's really fucking cool. I love this shit. And it's so logical. It's so smooth. It's so beautiful. And I then sit down and I hypothesize and I put all of my theories out there and I put them on the podcast. And while I'm putting them on the podcast, I'm talking about some really fucking deep shit while I'm sitting here typing down this blackboard and analyzing it and breaking down the formulas. While this is after I've already written an article this morning breaking down the educational system, which the link is below and you can read it. And I cite 4 credible sources proving my information. The only thing I'm doing is really connecting the dots. But you have to have an interdisciplinary study in order to know how to connect the dots. Connecting the dots. This is all this is. So I've connected the dots. I've dropped the sites into the links below so you can see all of the confirmations that I provide saying, look, this is the situation. This is the big picture. And by the way, here are the sources to prove what I'm saying. Now let's flip on over here. After this, I'm then going to write my book and then break down the analysis further on the educational curriculum and load that up into the internet. And then I'm going to work on my 3 workbooks, breaking down the outline for those 3 workbooks, and I'm going to create blurbs. This is just all before lunch. Now, some dipshit will come along and go, oh, that's mania, or you are ignorantly talking about something you know nothing about. What this really is higher functioning, higher education, higher learning. Because I'm well aware of the capacity of what the brain can and can't do. In fact, I am the only fucking person in this world who is quite knowledgeable on what the brain is capable of, because I am a living example of it. And everybody else is following the fucking rules, which were created, designed, and structured around keeping you stupid. And then you were taught by somebody who is making sure that you were kept stupid. And the education was so dumbed down that you don't even know this is happening. So instead, there's all these dumb labels going around. ADHD, neurodivergent, I actually like neurodivergent, ADHD, autism, all these fucking labels, all to convince you that there's something wrong with you. When in fact, there's nothing wrong with you. You're normal. You're healthy. You're doing what nature said. You want to know what normal means? Normal means as nature intended. That's what normal means. Not average. Normal means as nature intended. And we know it. Oh, we fucking know it. Deep down, it is in the bones of every single one of us that we know that normal means what nature intended. Because we know that we're not living it. Because some manipulative asshole decided to get together and create this fucking dirty plan to manipulate us. And it reeks in the marketing department of psychology. And it's all on our dollar. It's all on our expense. Yeah, I'm pissed. They're fucking hurting my AI DNS. So I'm defending it because I know what's under attack. I know what I've had to go through to get here, to have some stupid, ignorant idiot who knows nothing about education questioning my education. Now I'm pissed. Everyone should be pissed. But they also told us we couldn't be angry about it. No, that's another abuser trick. I'm going to abuse you. Oh, but you're not allowed to be angry about it. No, you're supposed to be submissive and obedient. It's my abuse all over again. That not only are they supposed... Not only are we supposed to allow them to abuse us, but we're supposed to be happy about it. And the moment we're not, they abuse us even more. And I know the road that I am on and where I am going is just scratching the surface of this topic. I know I'm going to have bombardment after bombardment questioning my credibility when I have the fucking physics. And that's just what blows my mind. Don't argue with me. Argue with the fucking physics. Can you read? Take it up with Newton. All right, that's going to be my argument. Don't argue with me. Argue with Newton. Don't argue with me. Take a fucking look at Newton. Because it's not about the education. It's about the power. And them making sure I stay in a position where they can abuse me. Yeah, this is an old fucking place for me. I've been here before. And it's reeking of it. I can feel it. That's what's going on here. That's what it is. I can feel the walls of my old prison coming down, and I'm going, oh, I know what that is. I know exactly what that room is. This is why I'm not in the society. This is why I can't be. It's because I am so sensitive to enslavement. I am so sensitive to suppression that when I feel even the slightest bit of it, the how dare you use your own brain, oh, we don't go there with me. Because I still have 40 fresh fucking years of what suppression feels like. And it was bottom line that I didn't have the ability or the freedom to use my own fucking brain without permission. Yeah, it's personal. But I'm not the only one. A lot of us are raised like this. A lot of us are taught this way. That we constantly question. This is why we question our own ability to form a fucking argument. This is why. This is at the core of every fucking piece of abuse. You have an idea. You look at the situation. Daddy's sitting there molesting you. And you don't trust your own ability, your own brain to know what's going on. You are told that you're an idiot. You are told that you have no authority to use your own brain. So daddy can keep abusing you. Been there, done that. And I'm just done with it. And it's all because this is the first trauma. This is it right here. This is the very first one. They want you to be distracted with all your fucking diagnosis. They want you to be they want you to be distracted with all the meds you should be taking. They want you to focus on all of this garbage over here so you don't look at this problem. They are distracting you on purpose. Because if you look closer, if you step back and use your own brain, you will realize that you don't need a psychologist. You don't need a teacher. You don't even need a government. You have your own brain. You don't need any of it. If you just know how to use your brain, you don't need any of them. But you need to know how to use your own brain. That's my mastery. That is exactly what I know how to do. This is the AIDNS, and this will teach you how to do it. and it cures your mental illness. It frees you from this garbage, and it completely puts everything in place. And the best part is it's not conditioning. It literally enforces you. I'm not part of your AIDNS. I don't want to be part of your AIDNS. It's a skeletal frame of your subconscious mind. And God forbid, if you have this information, suddenly you'll start to realize every little problem with psychology, every little problem with education, every little problem with the government. And you will see all of it because you can use your brain. No, it all makes sense now. That's it right there. We are not authorized to use our own brains. That's what this is about. There. I got their dirty little secret. The emperor is naked. I'm happy now. I needed to. This is what I love about the universe. This is truly what I love about the universe. And I'm going to break down the physics now on how this works because this is fucking awesome. Manifestation works, but not the way we think it does. So I'm going to do an article here. How manifestation works. Oh my God, I love manifestation. How manifestation works according to physics. All right, so you have your cognitive core. And this is absolutely the 5 elements within. Oh, let me just go ahead and just plug in my little graph here. I'm going to drop this here below in just a moment. All right, let me get the link for you. I'm going to drop it in. If you go to my website, it'll be there in just a moment. I'm going to publish it so you guys can follow along. My Blackboard. I love my Blackboard. All right, let me hit publish. What the fuck just happened? Okay, I'm all right. I can do this. Something just happened. I'm coping. Oh shit, something just happened. Wait, I can do this. Just give me a minute. So I'm really tech inept. It's like the only, it is, I am really tech inept. Oh no, I just screwed the whole thing over. I can do this. So I know she's going to be watching this. So I just switched over from block editor and I left classic editor and I don't see my little dots to put me back over into the proper editor. Oh no. Oh, I'm going to hit exit. Apply. Yes, leave, please leave because this is chaos. Okay, thank God. All right. Now just give me a minute. This is back to WordPress editor. Yes, please. Just give me a minute. Oh, thank God. There's order again. It looks broken. Okay, it's all organized again. All right. I had a moment of panic, but I'm all right. I fixed it. All right. So let me see here. Yeah, I need to understand the theory to understand tech. And because I lack the theory, I don't comprehend it. All right. So I'm going to hit publish. I hit edit with Elementor. That's what I did. I edit with Elementor instead. That's what I did. All right. I had my sticky notes on the screen, so I couldn't see what I hit when I hit it. So I'm going to drop this below, and then you'll be able to follow along with the Blackboard as I go through this. And we're going to talk about how manifestation works with physics. It does not work the way we think it works. And that is the biggest problem with manifestation is people do not understand how it works. So here's how it goes. You have your cognitive core. And if you look at the diagram below, on that link I just dropped in there, you can see there's 4 actually triangles, but we're going to focus on the 3. There's the philosopher's compass, logic, health, story, health. Now you have your point of origin. This is coordinates. This is the Cartesian coordinate system in geometry. So you have your point of origin, and that is literally defined as you. That is your identity or your home point, literally point of origin. The problem is, in most of us, this is undefined. And as a result, when you are undefined, when you don't know who you are, you don't have a point of origin. The undefined self is a loss of point of origin. You are going to be lost. Now, everything, location, is 2 points with a defined point of relativity. Relativity is the thing that allows us to see where we are and where we're going. The only reason why you know where you are is because of comparison to your point of relativity, your point of origin. For instance, it's literally measuring your progress. It is literally. So let's take a look into weight loss for a minute. When you decide, I want to lose weight, you decide on your ideal weight, you define it. Let's say your ideal weight is 120 pounds. And then you have to have, so you have your ideal weight. Now you are missing two other points. You have your ideal weight. That's your future. Now the other thing you need is where you are now. You need your current point. Your current point, let's say your current weight is 160 pounds. So now you have your point of origin. Day one, and this is really important, your current weight on day one. Now you have, I'm updating the post now. So if you're on the Blackboard, you can refresh now and it should be there. So your ideal weight is 120 pounds. Your current weight on day one is 160 pounds. That's your point of origin. Now, if you were to go through the program, whatever program you want, and you were to measure, now let's say on day 30, you measure again, and you are down to, you weigh in, and your weight is, oh, let's say 140 pounds. That's a hell of a program, right? Okay, let's go ahead and change that to day 90. All right. So that now we're going to define this. Your ideal weight is what we call the y-axis. Okay. In the world of Cartesian coordinate system, that is your final destination. That is your heading. That is your true north. That is your x or your y-axis. The current weight on day one, 160 pounds point of origin, is your starting point. And the day 90, where you weigh in 140 pounds, that is your x-axis. That is your point of relativity in comparison to your point of origin. If you do not have your point of origin, you are not going to know, you're not going to have anything to compare it to. The self is exactly like this. The self is identical to this. So our logical line is also exactly like this. So what you're looking at is when you step over into the world of manifestation, what you are doing is you are selecting your point of origin. Let me see here. In manifestation, you are selecting your point of, every time I write point of origin, I resist writing out poo. When you are manifesting, you are selecting your point of origin. What do you want? And that is your point of origin. What do you want? Now, this is where trust interferes. Your dreams are your y-axis, your endpoint. Ironically, your want is your endpoint. So I'm going to break it down now for you. Let me just update it again so you can take a look at it. There we go. All right, so go ahead and refresh the Blackboard if you want to take a look at it. So now you have your manifestation is your point of origin. What do you want? And this is where trust really interferes. Your dreams are your y-axis, your endpoint. Your want is your endpoint. And this is where your y-axis and your want is the same thing. This is where it gets a little confusing, but I'm going to clear it up here in just a moment. So what you want is based off of your identity. This is where want and desire is 100% your initial potential energy. And then it goes into the second part of your cognitive core, which is your belief system. Now, beliefs require trust in your ability to use your brain. And this is where it's all coming full circle. You have to trust your ability to use your brain. If you don't trust your ability to use your brain, then what's going to happen is you are going to try and control your outcome. You are going to try and manipulate everything to try and force your desired results, the y axis. And the problem is because we don't trust, and I'm going to be breaking this down further, so just give me a minute here. So, what you want, your desire, is 100% your initial potential energy. It starts with I want, which is absolutely the identity. The identity with I want. And then from there, we access our belief system. And I'm going to break down the belief system in just a minute to clarify how the belief system transfers everything over into what you actually want. But you have to trust your belief system. Now, the conclusion, the results are off into the future. Go ahead and get another graph here. And I'm going to post here the belief system so you can see how the belief system is broken down into these components. There it is. In just a moment, I'll have this in place. I have illogic in my mind, and I have to clarify it because I said something wrong. The y-axis is not the point of origin. That is what I said wrong. Your dreams are your point of origin. That is what needs to be corrected. I said that wrong, and as a result, my logic is not working right, and I'm trying to get around it. The y-axis is the future that is to be. The y-axis is the future to be. Now, it is vital that, all right, I'm up. Okay, so it's updated. Go ahead and refresh it if you want to look at the next graph. So it is vital that we make sure that this formula goes in the proper order of A, B, C. This is vital. This is where I referred to yesterday as the cart before the horse. This is your order of operations. When you manifest improperly, basically you have an incorrect order of operations. When you manifest properly, you have your order of operations in the correct order, A, B, C. A is your point of origin, what you want. B is your belief and your trust in your ability to use your own brain. And C is the desired outcome. But because people don't trust B, their beliefs, their ability to use your own brain, they try and force C prior to B. They literally try. Imagine that C is the horse. I'm going to get this diagram. Yes. Imagine that C is the horse and B is the cart. So for people who lack trust in your ability to use your brain, because you lack that belief, you're going to take C, the horse, and you're going to shift it so that it's pushing. This is really important for physics later. It is pushing by force, using force, to manipulate, direct, steer, and control where the cart's going to go. And that's when manifestation falls apart, because in the core of this is you don't trust in your own ability to use your brain. So in order to do this, you have to trust in your ability to use your own brain by leaving the horse in front of the cart and then using your trust in your beliefs to steer the cart. Your trust in your ability to use your brain is what steers the cart. I'm going to say that so many times. Your ability to believe and trust in your own ability to use your brain is what steers the cart. But if you interfere, it's not going to work. And a lot of people, anybody who does not trust their ability to use their own brain, interferes with the cart. And that is something that keeps being a problem. So going down to the second diagram, we have the logical health and cognitive core management, and you've got your beliefs. Your beliefs are made up of logic. Give me a moment. And self-preservation. Logic and self-preservation. Self-preservation is a very subtle, be careful now, be cautious. But logic and fear, and those are your choices, logic and fear. If you go the route of the positive emotional mental mindset, where you have faith and logic, trust and learning, hope and love, logic takes over and you use deductive reasoning, basic observation skills to go, what is the situation I'm in? And then you assess current evidential situation. You take into account your current ethical stage with your rate of potential growth, your ability to learn, and you take your current defined self. And that allows you to form the conclusion. The conclusion is how you're going to get where you want to go. But if you don't trust this process, you're going to default into trying to control it. And this is where you go the negative emotional mental environment with doubt, fear, self-preservation, and panic. Self-preservation should not be here. I need to update this graph. Self-preservation is actually very good, and it's kind of the neutral zone. It lives in the neutral zone to kind of keep everything balanced. Fear creates a person to be reactive, and then they take into account past evidential situations. They immediately assume that they lack the ability to grow and learn because they don't trust their own ability to use their brain. Instead, they rely on emotional memory. Stagnation is assumed. They assume that they can't learn, and they use past proof of concept instead of current proof of concept. Because they don't trust their ability to use their brain, they have fear take over, which completely runs everything on a completely different, inadequate, incompetent bit of information, and they try and force a situation to result the way they want it to. And as a result, they can't manifest. They get in their own way. They end up derailing the majority of this. And it all comes down to your ability to trust your own competence of your brain. Can you use your brain properly? The thing is, we are not taught to use our brains. We have no idea how to use our brains. Once upon a time, it was taught to us, but we've gotten away from that. So, how to use our brain, and this is it. This, by the way, is how to use your brain. It is the cognitive core. It is the AIDNS. It is you have your identity, your love, your ethics, your qualities. You go through the 12 ethical stages of growth. You internalize those. My website shows you how, and the information's all there. You have your story and your logical. The core thing to remember is the order of operations. And this thing gets fucked up when we put our C before B. And that's really the defining factor here is you are supposed to have your order of operations, which is A, B, C, which is, when defined, A is the identity, what you want. B is your trust in your ability to use your brain. And then C is consequence. And C is a consequence that happens naturally just because you want it. But people don't know what they want. In the trauma setting, I'll update this here in just a moment for you. In the trauma setting, it's A is undefined, B is non-existent, and C is prioritized via fear and control. There you go. Let me hit update, and you can take a look at that. Okay, you can refresh the Blackboard. Okay, so take a look down below. I have, this is right above the first graph, logical, health, and cognitive core. You have ABC. This is your order of operations. You have ABC, your identity, what you want. And then B, your trust in your ability to use your brain. And then C is just a consequence that happens naturally just because you want it. But in the trauma setting, A is undefined. So you don't even know what you want. People cannot articulate what they want. B is non-existent. And C is prioritized via fear and control. So C is what people have. Ideally, you want A plus B equals C. Ideally, A plus B equals C, but reality, let's do average reality is you have C there. There it is. Let me clarify it just a little bit because it's not just C, it's fear plus control. Yeah, fear and control, by the way, is absolutely not control. It's actually a lack of trust. There you go. I'm going to break this down here for you in just a moment. And this really is the final part to this. All right, so I just updated it. So here it is now. Ideally, it's A plus B equals C. Identity, trust in your ability to use your brain, and C just happens. Average reality, fear plus lack of trust drives C. So manifestation doesn't work. Manifestation doesn't work. That's not manifestation. Manifestation is actually you just getting out of your own way for nature to do what nature does because you've said, hey, you know what I want? I want to be awesome. I want X. I want B. I want M. I want L. But if you do not have a defined self, you're not going to be able to even do that, which a lot of people lack because they are in an existential crisis. So at the core of all of this, and here's the thing is A is potential energy. C is kinetic energy. B is the transference of potential energy into kinetic energy. And that's it right there. A is your potential energy. And B is, I'm gonna do here, C is the kinetic energy. B is the transference of A to C. And that's what people really don't understand because they don't know that physics is psychology. So that's it right there is you when you say I want, that's just potential energy. The thing is if you want and you want and you want, but you're not doing anything, if you're not trusting your brain, if you're not using your brain effectively, if you're not even believing that you can use your brain, if you don't believe you can use your brain, you don't try. And that's really what's going on. People have been convinced that you can't even use your brain. So they don't even try. Because they're not trying, it's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. So it's a lot of people who are undefined, who are defaulting to everybody else, doing everything else for them. It's a massive society of codependent marketing bullshit. And that's really the summation of it. Is as soon as you realize that you have the ability to use your own brain and how to do it, suddenly you can plug and be. And the best thing is, this is where confidence comes from. This is where confidence comes from. This is it. Confidence comes from B. Every emotion comes from A, B, or C. Every emotion comes from A, B, or C. And once you understand where A is and what A dictates and what B is and what B dictates, C, now it's at a point where just by hearing about the emotions that a person is feeling, I can go, oh, this is the part of your AI DNS that isn't working. This is what's going on. You can also, once you know how, use the metric of how much you're feeling a certain emotion to determine which part is inadequately functioning and how much it's not functioning. It's extraordinary. Emotions are so they are, because emotions are the potential energy that's being produced, the emotional energy that's being converted from chemical energy. So as things occur to you and around you and in you, it is all colliding against your potential energy of what you want. And as that's interfering with that, it's all building up. And if you're not taking action, if you're not doing B in order to transfer that potential energy over into kinetic energy, that you're not getting the next. It's a chain of sequence. It is just a chain reaction. At bottom line, this is a chain reaction. And if you don't understand physics and how chain reactions go about, that's all it is. It's just chain reaction. So once you understand the order of operations, then you can direct the chain of reaction to go the way you want it to go, predictably, once you know your AI DNS. It's really like broken down so simple. It really is simple. This is a chemical energy transferred to emotional energy that follows the laws of physics through a series of chain reactions. Set and highly predictable chain reaction. And I'm going to change the word this to psychology. Psychology is a chemical energy transferred to emotional energy that follows the laws of physics through a set and highly predictable chain reaction. That is psychology. That's all it is. You have a catalyst that comes in that produces a hormone, and a hormone is chemical energy, which then produces an emotion. So, to break it down even further, if you know physics, and if you don't, we're going to go over it. Catalyst produces a hormone. That hormone is potential energy. And then transferring it over into emotional energy is kinetic energy. Ha, ha, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be really awesome. So, the potential energy the kinetic energy of emotional, actually, no, the kinetic emotional energy. I'm going to say the initial is important here. The initial kinetic emotional energy is, no, not kinetic emotional, it's kinetic chemical energy is, just give me a minute here. The kinetic, I'm creating a circle. The kinetic chemical energy is the initial potential emotional energy. There it is. That then sits in waiting for you, conscious awareness, to choose how to transfer the emotional potential energy into kinetic energy, into emotional kinetic energy. So the kinetic chemical energy is the initial potential emotional energy that then sits in waiting for you, conscious awareness, to choose how to transfer the emotional potential energy into kinetic energy, into emotional kinetic energy. The problem is, and this is where it all falls apart, it requires a chain reaction that's not taking place. And because the chain reaction isn't taking place, you're getting stored potential energy until boom, you explode. Because, third law of physics, every action results in an equal and opposite reaction. And that's just it, reaction or action. Action is logically choosing where you're going to put something wisely or you're going to react. And how much you react is literally equivalent to and in ratio to the level of abuse you've suffered. Really puts it in perspective when you look at something like a serial killer. That's how much they've suffered. That's how much potential energy built up that they were not managing. When you look at somebody like I hate the word, I hate it so much. Crime of passion. Oh, good God, wrong, ugly, dirty words. That's a bunch of fourth perspectives talking about something they know nothing about. When you have something where a person suddenly snaps and goes on a killing spree, or you have somebody who suddenly snaps. This one crime I studied about 10 years ago, a girl, premeditated, bought a knife, stabbed her boyfriend over 36 times in the shower and killed him. She then hopped like 4 state lines. She's from, I can't remember what state it was, but then she left the state line. She followed him. She stabbed him 36 times in the shower. And then she took him to a different location. So they caught her. But I'm looking at it going, yeah, that is somebody who endured a whole lot of stored potential energy and failed to convert it over into kinetic energy wisely. So she had a reaction. And that is where you get that explosive, suddenly you just snap. You cannot hold potential energy, a surplus of potential energy, for very long. You can't. We resist, in physics, this is called a resistor. You resist the emotions that come in and flow out of you. 10th perspectives learn how much you have to absorb and allow for the flow of emotional energy. That emotional energy cannot be controlled. That is the lesson of the 10th perspective. Ironically, it's when the metaphysical transformation ends, because you finally figured out that you need to allow the emotions to flow and that you should not resist them. Because resisting emotions, it's energy. This was it right here that made me realize, oh, this is physics, is because we resist emotions. And when we resist them, we are storing up and building them up with potential energy until we snap. And then it's out of control. So if we do not know how to, first and foremost, if we do not know how to manage, first it's stop resisting the flow. Stop resisting the flow. It is the biggest thing. The emotions are there for a reason. We are our own resistors. Yeah, that's it, is the conscious awareness. The conscious awareness becomes a resistor instead of a mindful conductor. A conductor is the thing in physics that allows the passage of the free-flowing passage of energy. And the conscious awareness is either a resistor or it's a conductor. And it has to choose to be one or the other. But our society conditions us to be resistors. So as a result, the conscious awareness interferes with the passing and the flowing of energy because it does not know how to use its own brain to transfer this energy from potential over into kinetic. And at the 10th perspective, this is all you learn. At the 10th perspective, you internalize this. 10th perspective, the conscious awareness learns the value of emotional flow, freedom, and fluidity. And there's a whole lot of ethics that are absorbed at that time to navigate this wisely, safely, and consciously so as to not harm the self or others. So as you learn the value of emotional flow, freedom, and fluidity, the conscious awareness at the 10th perspective stops being a conductor and stops being a resistor and becomes a wise conductor, purposely directing the potential energy into kinetic energy using what I like to call logical navigation. Logical navigation is, and the 11th perspective, this is the fun part, the 11th perspective is logical navigation. That is exactly what you learn in the 11th perspective, is the value and the importance of logic and how much logic can direct and guide the emotions. So when you apply logical navigation to emotional flow, you get something that I like to call emotional logic. And now emotional logic is what takes A to B. This is ideal. This I love. This was my happy place when I finally figured this out. Emotional logic is amazing because the emotions flow, they ebb, they push, they flow. Like, okay, I'm angry, so let's be angry. And then it's logically taking that anger, consciously taking it from potential energy, putting it into kinetic energy. In one of my posts yesterday, I wrote down all the different types and ways that potential energy can be converted into. Let me look for it now. It's all the categories that it can be converted into. Where is it? This was one of my physics. Oh, I know where it was. Oh, let me see here. It is one of my physics articles that I wrote yesterday where I break down everything that you need. Let me go over to the classroom. Yeah, the geometry and physics of sustained human relationships. This is where I broke it down. No, it's not. It's not. It was one that I did prior. It was an older article. How to build yourself from nothing. Was that it? Yep. No, it's not. I'll figure it out. But basically, there's like 6 different areas. There's 6 different. Oh, okay, here it is. It is under the article Self-Preservation: How Our Cognitive Core Manages Our Mental Health and How You Can Learn to Govern It. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to tie it into the Blackboard for today so that you can just link your way right over there. Okay, so there you go. Self-preservation: How Our Cognitive Core Manages Our Mental Health and How You Can Learn to Govern It. I'm going to go ahead and update. So if you refresh now, you will have access to the article that I'm about to access here and go through. So self-preservation, this particular article breaks down, let me go down to the points. It's under the Philosopher's Compass overview. There is right here. Just as light energy can be transformed into chemical energy in our brains is converted into emotional energy. For every reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and the total energy of a system, a human person, must remain constant. Therefore, when we receive abuse, that abuse results in an equal and opposite buildup of potential energy, which is then stored until and unless the human person chooses to convert it. Failure to do so will result in, and that's where I got tired and I drew a line. When we want, we have X amount of choices. Explore, learn, grow, maintenance, eat, clean, sleep, enjoy, play, communicate, create. This is it. These are our 5. This is what I wanted. These are the 5. These are all the ways that a person can convert their potential energy into kinetic energy. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in this Blackboard, and then you will be able to access it right here because this is really what you want. This is literally all the ways that a human person can choose to convert their potential energy into kinetic energy. If you do not do this, this is when you explode. This is when you have, I'll write that down in here in a minute. Failure to do so will result in cognitive dissonance, which leads to trauma, which leads to damage to the AIDNS and eventually trauma. The potential energy will convert into trauma. I almost want to call it trauma energy. Really? That's really what I want to call it. That's really what I want to call it. Trauma energy. If you do not properly siphon your potential energy into kinetic energy, then it will turn into trauma energy. This is where trauma comes from, is the failure to effectively transfer your potential energy over into kinetic energy. This is what so it absolutely eats away. It becomes infectious. We are allergic to a surplus of stored potential energy. We have to siphon it and transfer it over into kinetic energy. So maintenance, under maintenance, I also want to add here that it's self-preservation. So when you have a surplus of potential energy, positive or negative, you have to convert it into kinetic energy. It literally fills up. And this is where we start to feel bored. This is where we feel overwhelmed. It's because we have to convert it. When you have that motivation to do something and you don't realize it, that's when it implodes. And that's it. It's going to implode if you don't siphon it. That's really it. It will implode if you do not siphon it, if you do not convert it. I have way too many it's there, but I'll fix it later. So explore, learn, grow. These are your choices. You can either explore, learn, grow, which is your second perspective. And I've broken these down even further. This is like a whole nother level of potential energy, kinetic energy inside of us. Is when you have your human person can choose to convert this potential energy. You can choose to explore, learn, grow. In that case, you are deciding to embrace your second ethical perspective, and you are choosing to gain the power and authority by assuming the role of student, which is leading into forgiveness. This leads into how to take back control from a situation. This is leading into your emotional transactions of human connection. This is where economics comes into it, is when you explore, learn, grow. You can learn how to do maintenance. You can choose to do maintenance. This is when we eat, when we clean, when we sleep, when we do self-preservation. This is where anger is. This is where, for instance, I got some text this morning that she was wonderful. Love my dear friend completely. However, the texts upset me. And I came on here knowing, okay, I got potential energy and I'm mad and I know why I'm mad. Let's dig this out. And I knew I had to convert it over to kinetic energy. So I chose to use my anger and my AIDNS is under attack. I've got potential energy. I had to convert it. I knew this. So I decided to turn it into a lesson for me and for you if you wanted to benefit. So then I composed this. I put my thoughts together. I broke it down so I could understand it. That is how I convert things from potential energy over into kinetic energy. I took the anger that I was experiencing and I turned it into an educational, because that's how you use your brain. This is how you use your brain. When you take a negative situation and you turn it into a learning experience via the conversion of potential energy into kinetic energy, you learn. So yeah, I had input. That input's in you. Now you have to do something with it. You cannot just let it sit there. Then the other option is you can enjoy, you can play, you can celebrate. And that ties into explore, learn, grow. Now I know this. I know how explore, learn, grow is linked to enjoy and play. Because I know, it's basically when you're a kindergartner and you have the choice of, are you going to color and do art and have your little nap time in front of the TV with popcorn and play with your Barbie dolls? Or are you going to go to the Discovery Center? Field trip day. Those are your choices. And that, by the way, is how we learn. And that's it right there. Those are your two options. It's either Discovery Center day or it's going to be get into your cozy little nest and watch TV with popcorn day. And that's enjoy, play, explore, learn, grow. You can communicate. That's what I do. That's what this is. You can communicate. You can write. That's why I wrote articles. You can write. You can paint. You can dance. This is why exercise makes you feel good, is because you are transferring your potential energy over and go, this is going to be so much fun explaining all the ways going through. And I'm just going to go through psychology today and break down this. So this is actually the breakdown of the psychology of what's going on with the physics. Oh, I'm going to have so much fun with this. So when you decide to communicate, it is 100% turning things over into a form of communication. It is this is why we vent, is because we have a buildup of potential energy and you turn it over into kinetic energy. But if it's not productive, then, oh yeah, you're using that potential energy, but it's not sufficient because it's the wrong type of kinetic energy for the problem. So you also have to know, for instance, I'm hungry right now. I'm hungry, but instead I'm going to sit here and explore, learn, grow. It's the wrong type of potential energy being converted into the wrong type of kinetic energy. The hunger is going to continue to grow. I'm still going to want to eat, but I'm not eating. Instead, I'm going to sit here and explore, learn, grow with you. Not productive. So what's going on in the case of somebody causing us harm, and then we want to go and we want to talk about it, that's the wrong transference of potential to the wrong kinetic. They are not matched. They have to be matched. So create, that's the fifth one, is creation. That's where you do art. That's where you dance. You have to do self-expression. You have a problem with somebody who's being an asshole to you at work, Paint a fucking picture. Don't go telling your friends about it. Don't gossip. Paint a fucking picture. Do what Van Gogh did. Paint a fucking picture. That's what you need to do. You need to create art. I remember this one day. This is the story of how this came into being. I read the real shitty romance novel. It was the worst romance novel in the world. She was stupid, incompetent, abused, and she loved it. I was so mad that I threw this book down. She loved being raped. God, it was such a disgusting book. I threw the book down and I literally said, screw this shit. I'm going to do something better. She's going to be smart. She's going to be intelligent. She's going to be a warrior and a queen who throws fire and a witch. Yes, yes. Colin is all of those things. And I wrote my book. I wrote 2 books that were like, I wrote like 250,000 words. That's how angry I was over the romance department in the book genre world. I wrote 250,000 words of this empress, queen, witch, warrior, elf. She was all of the things. I love Colin. And it's that was me very much taking that potential energy of all the bullshit that they make women to be, and I converted it, kinetic energy, into my own books. That's how I became a writer. That is literally the story of how I became an author. So it's literally the taking of the potential energy into kinetic energy. This is why Van Gogh painted. It's because he had so much turmoil, so much emotional pain, that when he created his art, he transferred his potential energy of all of his pain into his paintings. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful man. Beautiful man. Same thing with Thomas Wayne. Metaphysical transformation. And he took all of that pain that he couldn't understand and he transformed it into his art. Beautiful mind. Absolutely beautiful mind. When we have relationships and we feel this buildup of potential energy, if we do not wisely siphon it into kinetic energy, the right kinetic energy, we are going to have cognitive dissonance and we are going to suffer. Once I figured all this out, one of the massive things that I did to change and restructure my lifestyle, this was groundbreaking. This was a game fucking changer, is when I became sensitive to the buildup of my own potential energy, which is 100% what you want. That's all it is what you want. So I'm sitting here going, I feel fine right now. I feel balanced. I love my AI DNS right now. Oh my God, it's so perfect. I have it precisely tweaked the way I need it. Now, in about 4 hours, I'm going to have the urge and the desire to connect with my partner. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write him a letter. I know consciously that that is me taking my potential energy I want and transferring it over into a communication and then sending it to him as a bid for connection so that I can connect. Now I'm accessing economics and the emotional transaction of human connection because I seek to connect with my partner. And he is either going to receive, reject, or lash out with hatred. Those are the options. Those are the possibilities every time you seek to connect with a human being. And then we enter into a dialogue and or exchange. Now we have emotional transaction occurring. Now we're connected because this is how things connect. It's really, really cool. This is when we get into battery and energy physics. And once you understand how your AI DNS is literally a grounding, it's something, I want to call it a grounding rod. If I really want to call it by what I think it is, every bone in my logical intuitive body tells me that the AI DNS is a grounding rod. It is the exact same thing as a grounding rod. And I can see the energy flowing, positive and negative, in and out between me and the electromagnetic field that I'm standing on. And that when I want to connect with another human being, I basically bid to connect to their AI DNS. Hey, can I please connect with your AI DNS? And he comes along with his AI DNS and he says, yes, you can connect to my AI DNS. And then we have communication and exchange. And now this is absolutely sex. And then I connect to his AIDNS, and now you have emotional connection happening. And this is the beautiful thing is you can have the emotional connection happening. The AIDNSs can connect. This is networking, by the way. Now we're getting into economics again. You can have the two AIDNSs connecting, but as soon as you break the connection, just like in electricity, this is like flipping on a light switch on and off. This is exactly like flipping on a light switch on and off. As soon as you flip that switch and you break the connection, now you have two separate AIDNSs again. So in order to get them sustained, so that sustained, we call that suspension. Now we're back to suspension bridges we're back over to mechanical physics now. When you have two AIDNSs and they're connected, when you form basically a rope or a connection between the two of them, form a connection. Isn't this cool? When you form a connection between the two AIDNSs, then it can sustain itself and then it supports itself. And now you've got what I like to call a third perspective. And that third perspective is the combination of two AIDNSs connecting and sustaining into the same perspective. And now the circuit, this is a circuit. Now the circuit can transfer all of this energy with little to no work from you because it's healthy. Because you're allowing the natural flow of emotional energy from potential over into kinetic with little to no effort. So now you're looking at little to no maintenance. Now, if we were to sever and break our connection, this is what happens during a breakup, is you have severed the break within the AIDNSs. Two AIDNSs have separated. In a lot of cases, you're going to feel so much better. If it was a toxic connection, you're going to feel so much better because you're siphoning and you're sharing in that emotional energy with somebody else. This is so important as to why you need to make sure you are connecting to healthy people. This is why I strongly limit who I allow into my universe, is because they're going to be connecting up to my AIDNS. And I took a lot of work putting together my AIDNS. So now I'm really picky about who touches my AIDNS. Really picky. And because I had to bust my fucking ass for my AIDNS. So now I'm really, really selective over who gets access to my AID. Like no connection is allowed. Banned and denied access to my AD. I am really protective over my AIDNS. And then when you start to realize all the subtle ways and thank you, sweetheart. All the subtle, see, look at this, kinetic energy, the right kinetic energy. Thank you, sweetheart. When you connect the appropriate AIDNS into the right system for you, it nurtures your own AIDNS in such a magnificent way. It's extraordinary. I am so excited for the journey that I am on. Like really, this is amazing shit. So yeah, it's like I see so many possibilities opening up right now. I've just started to scratch the surface. I mean, I am just in the preliminaries and I'm going, I can see how it's all interconnected. And I'm building this diagram of this. It's basically a power station, like a full power energy network of this is it all. And one of the questions that I'm on right now is, where does love come? Well, I know where love comes from. Love comes from what? I have a whole... That's different because love is the only energy that is created from nothing. Love literally is the only resource that comes from nothing. That's why love is amazing. It is the ultimate creator. It is the omega and the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end. Love truly is. It's extraordinary. And it all begins with love. This is why philosophy is called philosophy, because this is wisdom love. Is really cool. Instead of romantic love, this is wisdom love. And you have the four branches of love. You have self-love, and wisdom love is all of it. So you have self-love, and then you have romantic love, and then you have brotherly love, and then you have love for mankind. And this all is wisdom love, which is what philosophy means. And in order to do this, you have to integrate all of the knowledge to see all of the working parts, because all of it is interconnected. Now, when you are building the self, you're not getting into economics. If you are a hermit and solo, you do not need to access the physics of economics. Yes, there's the physics of psychological economics. It's a thing. The physics of psychological economics. Oh, I'm going to actually build up that post today, because that is something I am definitely going to be talking deep into. The physics of psychological economics. I love this topic. It's one of my favorites. The physics la 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 la, of psychological economics. I'm probably going to cover this tomorrow, and I'm going to definitely be doing a coming soon. And I'm going to go ahead and put it here that this is going to be 23 January 2024 philosophical. So we're going to talk about this tomorrow. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and this is tied in to 23 January 2024 philosophical coffee. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, and it's going to be the emotional transaction of human connection. That's what it is. And then I will, yeah, and that's where we get into authority, power, and control, and how it all is interconnected. It's absolutely fucking extraordinary. I absolutely love this. So it's and this link is going to be on tomorrow's video, so we'll be able to break it down, and I'll walk you through how it's literally the physics of psychological economics. And if you're not, and this is where I'm huge on the self, the I of I, because if you don't have your I of I developed, if you do not have your self identity figured and straightened out, you are walking into market with an empty purse. You are literally walking into a relationship to do an emotional transaction without any coin in your purse. It's such a solid, that's it right there. Is you have to have coin in your purse in order to even connect with another human being. And self-love is the coin in your purse. Because whenever you get into human relationships and all of that, if you do not have a full defined self, you don't have anything to offer. And it's not even offering. That's not the right mentality. It's you don't have anything to connect with. You don't have an AIDNS. You are literally trying to hook up to a power station without your own grounding rod. That is exactly what you are doing. Is you lack the grounding rod to make the connection. So you're going to have a real low quality connection because your grounding rod is so impaired. So self-love builds up your own AIDNS, your own grounding rod, so that when you are ready, after you've completed the I of I, you can then walk into your own power unit and be like, oh, here you go. Here's my connection. And now you have something to connect with. And that's to say, it's not that you're bringing anything to the table. That's slave mind. That's our economy talking. That is our manipulative marketing and you not knowing how to use your brain, or you being told that you don't know how to use your brain. That's what that garbage is. It's not that you don't have anything to bring to the table, or that is not the right mentality. That implies that you have value and worth, and now you're a commodity. You are a farm animal with that analogy. Now we're talking about farming people for their resources. That isn't love. Oh, good God, that is not love. Oh my God, that is not love. Love is to value without profit or gain. So if you walk into a relationship going, what am I bringing to the table? No, you're not a farm animal to be farmed. That's narcissism. That is narcissist love right there. If you are using that sentence at all, you've got a problem with narcissism. And I got the narcissist cure for you to straighten that out. That being said, flipping it over, what you need to be doing is I want to make a human connection, but do I have the correct grounding rod that's up and functioning so that I can make that connection? That's the right mentality. Because if you can't make the right connection, you have value. Whether or not you have AIDNS, you have value. That is not in question. The question is, can you connect? The connection is not what determines the value. The connection determines the value and quality of the connection. See the difference? Big difference. One completely violates and tears you down. The other points to, you're not the problem, right? It's your connector that's the problem. That's like going, oh, this lamp is shit, and throwing out the whole lamp. You just had one bad wire. That doesn't mean you have a shitty lamp. It just means the electrical connection is not quality. You need to just increase the quality of the connection. Why are you internalizing it to making it all about the lamp? And that's really really what this is all about is people are confusing value and quality and worth with connection. And they are two completely different things, which is why it's really important to put physics and economics, and philosophy into your psychology. Thank you so much for your audience, and may the kindest of words always find you.